One MAGA voter left a comment under the Fox News video and said, "I am a Trump supporter. I did not like the way the Ukrainian leader was treated. It was disrespectful. Starting with the asshole comment about a suit. His country was invaded by a superpower. They are defending themselves against a tyrant who has killed thousands of Ukrainians. America has done a lot, but we also promised to defend them against foreign attacks in exchange for Ukraine giving up their nuclear capability." Now, this person is referring to the Budapest Memorandum, where Ukraine gave up their nukes in exchange for security guarantees from the West if Russia ever did invade, and even Russia itself agreed to recognize Ukraine as a sovereign country and agreed to never invade Ukraine. So right there, Russia has shown itself as a bad faith actor because they have broken the Budapest Memorandum multiple times, and this is the point Zelensky was trying to make in the Oval Office, but we'll cover that. This Trump supporter then says, Ukraine gave it up. They gave up their nukes. And now look what has happened to them. I was very disappointed in the behavior of our politicians and news media. They do not understand that Ukraine will fight to the death for their country. It's their blood on their land. We should honor our promises without lording it over to those we have sworn to defend. And even though the Budapest Memorandum argument is very valid, it's a good argument, I think it's even stronger to tell conservatives, hey, the return on investment that we get economically and militarily for just sending some of our old stockpiled military equipment over to Ukraine. Number one, this is equipment we were already going to dispose of anyways. It's very expensive to get rid of some of this toxic equipment, so we just send it to Ukraine and they use it. Number two, it helps boost our economy because dollars are spent on our manufacturers. It's just a win-win-win, and Trump doesn't seem to understand that. But it's been almost a day since Zelensky met with Trump and J.D. Vance, and I just want to go over some of the fallout, some of the misconceptions, because I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've thought about the dynamics, and honestly, it's incredibly interesting. I mean, when Zelensky said, "Have you been to Ukraine and seen the problems we have?" She said, "Just come once." Zelensky said, "Just come once." And Vance said, "I've seen the stories," basically showing right there that he's only scrolled through X. He's seen things through a specific lens that Elon Musk wants him to see it through. And I'm sure he thinks that we're sending a bunch of money over to Ukraine. It's not money, it's equipment again. I'm sure he thinks that Ukraine is full of neo-Nazis. It's just a mess. But I do want to say, Zelensky did punch back a little bit and troll Trump after, but it wasn't even as much of a troll. It's just Zelensky is clearly furious, and Ukraine is not in a good position. So let's break this all down. I do want to say, look how close we are to 1 million. And by the way, thank you everybody, because I'm at 999,000 at the time of recording, so I probably hit it by the time I've uploaded this. Thank you to everybody who subscribed. But look at this. Zelensky yesterday, after his meeting with J.D. Vance and with Donald Trump, where J.D. Vance said, "Have you even said thank you once?" This weird infantile game of, have you even said thank you? Who cares? I mean, number one, Zelensky says thank you all the time. But number two, we should be thanking him for almost dying a million times to hold the line with Russia. I mean, J.D. Vance is playing this weird infantile game. It's just like, it's not anything that's appealing. Zelensky then started tweeting out to other officials, "Thank you for the support. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your support." After people were saying, "I visited Ukraine twice. I've seen the resilience and courage of its people. Ireland stands with Ukraine. All the countries came together. Thank you for your support." But watch what happens when I zoom out. Zelensky said this like 30 to 40 times. And people were wondering, at first, is this meant as some sort of troll towards Donald Trump and J.D. Vance? Because he responded to every single official that showed support, but he did not respond to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, but they didn't really write a post. Now, Zelensky did say thank you many, many times in the Oval Office. I do want to point out that the moment they sat down, Zelensky said thank you. He notoriously has been very, very grateful. Take a look at this clip.
An honor to have you, and please, I'd like to say something.
No, thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you for the invitation. And
he just said thank you twice. He says it a few more times later on, but still, it's just, what is this infantile game? Why do we have to count how many times Zelensky has said thank you? So people were wondering if he's trolling, but it seems like he's genuinely just trying to shore up the alliances. I think that, and rightfully so, Zelensky, people in Europe are a little bit spooked by the fact that the United States is just withdrawing from the world stage and not going to help our allies as much anymore. But JD Vance is embarrassing. Donald Trump is embarrassing. You know who's extra embarrassing is Elon Musk. We have to break down this tweet because when Elon Musk gets 320,000 likes on a post, it's an uphill battle for us to debunk it, but the best we can do is just debunk it. Elon Musk tweeted out, "Time to find out what really happened to the hundreds of billions of dollars sent to Ukraine." This is another common misconception. He has two misconceptions in one tweet, like 5 in one tweet, but the two that I want to break down. We didn't just send hundreds of billions of dollars. We sent military equipment, number one. Number two, he's implying that a lot of that military equipment or the aid that we sent disappeared. That's because Zelensky was misquoted in an interview once. Zelensky essentially said, we were supposed to get $200 billion, but we didn't see the whole $200 billion. Zelensky said, we didn't see the entire $200 billion. What he meant is not that it was stolen or it was fraud. It's just that the U.S. does not wire Ukraine $200 billion. This isn't how it works. Conservatives, Elon Musk, they have a very simplistic, childish view of how this works. There's never been once where we just wire them billions and billions of dollars. The money is spent actually at home. When we say $200 billion, let's say $170 billion of that will be spent on U.S. weapons, will be spent on manufacturers domestically. So that's why I always say it helps our economy, number one. Number two, we get to then send that military equipment over there, ship it to Ukraine for them to use rather than disposing it because it can be very expensive to dispose these toxic things. So rather than sending them money, wiring them money, we use it to buy American-made weapons from U.S. manufacturers that are then shipped to Ukraine. The U.S. has provided Patriot missile systems, HIMARS, Abrams tanks, all of which are manufactured by Americans' defense contractors. So again, this comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of how this works. It is a win-win-win, but of course, if you are drenched in Vladimir Putin's propaganda all the time, 24/7, he's trying to convince you that it's a lose, that the American people are losing out, that America's losing out, that Elon Musk himself is somehow losing. It's all just a big game. But then Laura Loomer responds with more disinformation. I mean, who needs Russian foes when you have Americans like this spreading disinformation like Laura Loomer? She said, it was laundered. It was laundered, referring to the money. It was laundered, and a lot of it was used to fund neo-Nazis in the Azov battalion. Another straight-up Russian talking point. We funded Nazis, says Laura Loomer, and Elon Musk just says, wow. Elon Musk says, wow. Doesn't even think about it critically. It's so easy to debunk this. The Azov battalion was founded in about 2014. And yes, it had a far-right element to it, absolutely. But the Azov makes up a fraction of Ukraine's entire military, and they have since moderated. So Azov at its peak had around 1,500 members, which, yeah, that's a lot. But then Ukraine's entire military force had 900,000 to 1 million estimated members. So Azov makes up 1%, and by the time 2019 came around, by the time Ukraine westernized even more, the Azov battalion was integrated into Ukraine's National Guard, meaning they had to moderate a bunch, and their far-right elements had to get kicked down. It's like taking the U.S. military and having 1 million people there and showing that there's 100 people who are Nazis. Like, you can't just say that the entirety of Ukraine is Nazi-backed because of the small 1,000 people that are now not even a part of the military. These people aren't even a part of Ukraine's military anymore, and they were never officially part of the military. So, I mean, this is all just lies. But, of course, it gets hundreds of thousands of views. Jason Walter said, good luck to the U.S. facing China all alone, because everybody, Europe, Japan, South Korea, all of our democratic allies will be asking themselves if the U.S. is going to backstab them next. The U.S. was the most successful country in world history with many powerful allies that has now been dismantled. Yeah, and I just don't understand why we dismantle the exact power structures that have allowed us to be so successful for the past 80 years. We've built up so much power that we're respected. Trump, the point that Trump is trying to make when he does all this is that the U.S. has a big weapon and we can use it and that we are respected. We ought to be respected on the global stage, but we already were. We were already respected. You could have done this with a few phone calls, not being a huge asshole, unless you are Russia aligned and you want to undermine all of our alliances and embolden people like Putin. I mean, when this tweet makes a point about China, we will be facing China. There are estimates that China will invade Taiwan in about 2027, maybe even earlier, since now they've seen the West will entirely withdraw when a large country tries to take over its next door neighbor. That is the exact model that China is going to recreate if there's a peace deal, a quote-unquote peace deal that's incredibly favorable to Putin. Putin gets all of his land. Xi Jinping will say, hey, so we can just go take 50% of Taiwan until the West tuckers itself out, and then we cut a peace deal, and boom, we have successfully found a loophole to do imperialism. Like, it's just so incredibly embarrassing. This TikTok comment I came across says, this is the first time I'm admitting this. I made a mistake in November. I feel sick. I hear you, I see you, and you can have a conversation with me. I'm embarrassed and I regret my vote. I'm truly sorry I allowed the wool over my eyes versus seeing reality. I fully admit I got caught up in MAGA. I've been a Republican my entire life, but I cannot stand the insanity that has unraveled since he's been sworn in. What he said about Gaza and Ukraine is heartbreaking. Him bowing to Elon and Putin, I've lost sleep. I have immense regret. I support and understand your words. And I know that everyone in the comments is already going to be saying, fuck around, find out, she deserves the worst. But when people are genuinely remorseful like this, you want to bring them back into the movement. If we ever want to win again, we have to bring people back into the movement. So Tierra, who has the American flag in her name, maybe there's a reality where she genuinely just doesn't know anything about politics and got duped by Trump. And of course, that shouldn't be excusable, but some people deserve to be let back into the pro-democracy movement. I'll leave it at that. Drop a like, subscribe. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.